You were telling people about some of the things you learned and some of the experiences that you had, and people were expressing anger. Like, why didn't we learn this growing up?
Because we learned it in such a different way. And I feel like, there is one Torah and there are so many ways to live your life with Torah values. And I'll share one thing with you. Going through my challenges, going through my life, it was more like I had a bad day, I had a bad week, I had a bad month, I had a bad year. Like, God, why are you punishing me? Like, enough. Like, what lesson do I have to learn? And, you live your life thinking that God is punishing you. Eventually, it's like, okay, God, I'm giving up. Just, you know what? Just do what you want. And then you come and you start learning that there's a tikkun. My neshama chose this. This was me knowing that I can handle the challenges that are coming my way. And, it's not me being punished. I didn't do some grave, crazy thing that, every 5 seconds I'm getting slapped for it. This is something that is refining me and making me into something that, God loves me and he has a plan for me. And I am destined for something great. But if I look at it as, okay, I'm getting punished, I'm gonna lay down in bed and like, okay, dear God, I'm just done. And it's something that I've been trying to teach my kids, and I actually have a very interesting story. One of my kids, I think it was last year, said something to me like, oh, no, 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 I'm not doing XYZ, or I'm not something about XYZ because I don't want to go to hell. And it took me a few days to process. I didn't respond to him right away. And I came back to him a few days later and I said, you don't want to do XYZ because you're afraid of hell. You don't want to do it because you want to grow. And again, you don't want to be that person that is doing XYZ, not because you're afraid. And he looked at me and he said, Ma, I know. That's how you raised me. And you get like a little bit, like you get hana'ah, knowing that my kids aren't going to grow up the way that I did. And when you live your life knowing that Hashem loves me, and there is a reason why I'm going through this, and there is a purpose for it. It's not because he needs to slap me down. It's a very, very different level of living. And, that helped me so much, at least this past year. When I started changing my attitude towards this, God loves me. I am destined for something great. I did not go through everything that I went through just, because there's no reason. There is something in store for me. And I'll bring it back to manifesting. The way I took manifesting is there is beracha above my head. It's there. God gave it to me already. And what Vessel is doing for me is teaching me to open up to receive what is already there. That is how I'm taking manifesting this year. I will understand and learn more. I'm still absorbing. I'm still learning. But Hashem wants to give me. Hashem is a God of abundance, and I have to learn how to accept it.
Okay, Meira, you ready for this?
No.
Perfect. Best place to start.
Yeah.
Till now, we've been doing these episodes and, you can see the trajectory. Like some of them, I try to be super formal. And then most of them, I'm just like, whatever, let's just jump into the conversation. I think that's the only way to start this one because this is the impromptu episode that was not planned. Initially, I was going to do 8 episodes featuring 1 episode per module of Vessel. And then I don't know, today's Sunday. So 2 days ago on Friday, I just had this thought. I think I need to talk to Meira. I think we need to do an additional episode that has nothing to do with the modules. That's just a representation of what Vessel is. And I was kind of like undecided about it. And then you showed up at my front door. And then I knew it needed to happen. So ready or not, Meira, let's go there. So, Meira, you're really unique because you have been with Vessel since its first cohort, since its inception during COVID. I mean, the way I sell Vessel right now is that it's an 8-week process that goes between Sukkot and Hanukkah. It very neatly fits into these 8 weeks of the year, but it wasn't actually started this way. It wasn't intended this way. It just kind of happened. But our first cohort actually ran after Pesach during COVID, and you were the first one in. And then there were a couple of years where you were in, out. I saw you. I would meet you sometimes in the neighborhood. We lived close by. And then I had the opportunity to watch you grow and evolve and ultimately emerge through 6 seasons of Vessel. So I want to hear from you. I mean, what was your perspective? You've also watched Vessel grow, evolve, and emerge. And I would love to hear your take as somebody who's been with us since the beginning. What are you noticing? Not before we talk about you. First, talk about the program and what you've noticed. And I know I'm nervous. I'm talking way too much. The reason I'm asking you this is because you kind of had your process where some years you were more in, some years you were more out. And I'm wondering what happened with you and with the program that made you last year say, you know what? I'm in all the way. Let's go there.
So, you know, back by COVID, I was actually going through my own stuff.
Oh, wait, you mean you had
And
stuff
then
beyond COVID?
possibly. And it happens to be during COVID, my husband really got very, very sick. And I had to take care of him, and I just needed something. I needed something for myself. And I saw Vessel on someone's status. And, I was sick of the typical, talking to people, going to people. I needed more of something more meaningful in my life. And I asked her, tell me about Vessel. And she said, it is transformative. It is like Fally changed my life. Things changed my life. So I did it. And I listened to a lot of the classes. It was also a very hard time. I'm saying it was COVID. The kids were home. I was also having issues focusing. I couldn't sit still. I was just, but I enjoyed it. I really, really loved it. But I knew I wasn't ready yet. But I loved it so much that I knew that one day I would come back to it. And happens to be at the time you were offering it twice a year.
It was the only year that I offered it twice because the
Okay.
launch was during COVID because I think we were just bored. Everybody was home. We were going crazy with cabin fever. And I had this course almost ready to go. And I was really insecure about launching it. I think if not for COVID, it may have stayed in my drafts, in my Google Drive drafts for a long time. I think COVID was that impetus of we're bored. Let's see what we can do. And I think that was the year that I sold it for almost nothing. It was just like,
Yeah,
let's see
no,
what
I
happens.
could have reached on what I paid for
Right.
it.
And then so many people showed up and the reception was gorgeous. And when you say that you had the ADD, you couldn't really sit through it. Oh, girl, the only reason I could sit through those lectures is because I was giving the lectures. But it was such a saving grace for a lot of us to be able to log in. At that time, the lectures were live. We were able to log in and just greet one another and grow together. And then I had the opportunity to run it again after Sukkot, and that's when it kind of moved over. So that was the only year that I gave it twice, and then it stayed after Sukkot ever since then. But then I didn't hear from you for a while. You kind of like phased out. I didn't hear from you for a while. Like here and there, you would pop your face in, or I would,
So I didn't really phase out. I didn't phase out. I did those first few years. I did come back to
to
breathwork.
breathwork. Right. I've seen you in the
Right.
breathwork groups, but on Vessel, I mean.
Yeah. Vessel, I did not. I couldn't do it. But every year, like I either printed out the heart work and then never looked at it again, or unarchived the chat and just like I had to do something to tell myself, I'm going to come back to this. This is something that I'm not ready for, but one day I will be ready for it. And I'm not pushing it to the side because it did mean a lot to me. It wasn't the time.
Yeah, this is the piece that I value very highly about this particular offering that for me, it's lifetime membership. I keep getting advice to the contrary, like, Fally, you're crazy. This is not normal. You don't do this. You charge people to come back. And for me, it's like, no. So much of this process is knowing when you're ready for the process. And this year, this past year, on our sixth cohort, something changed for you. I'll never forget one of the reasons that excited me, that made me want to do this conversation with you, was around the time that we finished last year, you wrote the most stunning text on the Vessel Women's WhatsApp group. And I'm not going to read the text in its entirety, but you wrote a couple of pointers, things that you learned while going through Vessel. And the top one was you just kept showing up. That this was the first year that you completed all 8 modules, but it took you 6 cohorts to get here. And I remember the feedback that people gave you. You had so it was so beautiful. You were so vulnerable in that it was a very long post, and it wasn't just about showing up. You wrote something else that was so nice. You wrote, "My life didn't change. My life is exactly the same, but I changed, and that makes all the difference." And I'll never forget the feedback, and it stayed in my mind that when I had to think of who to do a bonus episode with, I wanted you to talk about that. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you meant when you wrote those things for us?
There's so much, and I don't even know where to begin. I will start, I think, more from the
Yeah.
end. The transformations that I saw this year, it wasn't about only the content and the learning and, the WhatsApp group and the support. It was that I saw so much meaning in my life because of everything that I was learning and everything about Vessel and everything that you teach. There's always like a Torah source or, just the alphabet, bringing in names, bringing in it's just chock full of information. I never knew about this Sefirot. I remember during one of the Q&As, someone said, like, what's wrong with the chakra system? You said, the chakra system per se is not bad, but it was, let's say, created by people that, worship Avodah Zarah, right? But we have the Sefirot, and it's something that I never knew about. And what I love about Vessel is not only did I get so much out of Vessel, but it was like a gateway.
You actually wrote
It
that in that text that you sent. You were, I
did
now
I?
have a stack of books that I'm going to spend the
Oh
rest of my
yeah,
life reading. I started learning Tanya, and
yeah.
I'm like, did you, we have a Syrian girl learning Tanya right now?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And I am mesmerized by it. It's just, it's all very, very fascinating. And you find meaning and you find a lot of depth in life through all this. So, and it's not even that, by the way. I learned how to brush my teeth through
Tell me
Vessel,
more
the
about
oil
that.
pulling, and then how to stick one habit onto another habit so that you can continue with these habits. Like, I really learned how to live life to its fullest because of Vessel. And, I wasn't ready before, but once I was ready, I stepped in to the fullest. And I am so happy that I can come back every year because there's always so much more to learn. Because there's so much information that I learned. Like, I can't even tell you which module was my favorite. Because I think every time I listened to one, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is amazing. And you're like, wait till the next one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like I couldn't get enough of it. And like really, like up until midnight when it closed, I was
You
still
were.
writing notes.
You were.
I
And
was still writing
that
notes.
week that it closed, well, actually, it was a little before, you were like, I don't know, should I join Ignite? Because Ignite starts just 3 weeks after Vessel. And you know me, I'm kind of like, I don't know, And you were like, I don't know if I can keep up. And I was like, no, Meira, I think you're gonna love it. And I think that was it that I said to you. And then not only did you finish all of Vessel, you jumped right along for the bandwagon of Ignite and you kept up. You were really there.
It was hard work, but I have to tell you, it was hard. It was so enjoyable. I loved every single second of from Vessel through Ignite. Like, I loved living life. I enjoyed it. I like woke up every single day like, what am I going to learn today? What am I, and every single morning there was a little bit of something. I rarely skipped. Did I always make the live Q&As or anything like that? No, not always. And it took me the full 16 weeks that it was open to finish. But I milked it for every single thing that I was able to get out of it. And this year, I'm going to get even more.
Yeah, you will. You
So,
always get more like the next time around and the next time around because you're not hearing it for the first time. You're already living it. So the next time you're getting these insights in a new way and on a deeper level. And we're talking about a deeper level. When I kind of threw this at you very suddenly, like, do you want to record like an impromptu episode? And this was Friday afternoon, and you were like, ah. but then like, but then last
way.
night, Matzah Shabbos, you were like, it's going to be called Coming Home. You already had the title. And I have no idea what we're going to call this. We're going to have to go through the entire conversation, but I want to talk about that because we're not basing this on a module. We're basing this on the idea that you used vessel as a way to come home. Can you tell us a little bit more about that journey for you? And you know how much I hate the word journey, specifically the word healing journey. But if anyone gets the right to talk about a healing journey, it is definitely you, Meira. So you want to tell us a little bit more about what coming home means to you?
So first of all, the actual coming home, yeah, Friday night, my sleepless night was on you, Fally. Okay. Yeah, you need to like inject some sleep into me now. This is not okay. But anyway, when I joined GTH, that was the weekend retreat. First, I had asked you, to tell me about it, and you sent me to someone. And this person told me, did you like Vessel? I said, yes, I did. JTH is Vessel on steroids.
So for everybody listening, I did mention this in some of the other episodes. JTH was a workshop, a 3-day workshop that I used to run. We changed the name, we rebranded to IA. And when I say used to run, it's because I put them on hold while I was creating content for my trainings, but they're coming back. If you go onto my website, you'll still see a tab that says workshops. You'll see IA there. You can join the wait list. We hope to have them back up soon because, like Meira says, not only are they transformative, they're also a lot of fun. So tell us more.
So when I went to JTH, again, I wasn't in the best of spaces. Again, I wasn't focusing. I was coming off a few very difficult years in my life. And I went. I bit the bullet and I went. And this was my first breath work ever. I did not know what to expect with breath work. And I remember what you did with us before even the breath work. I think you gave us blindfolds and you let us free dance, but without being self-conscious, without, just be yourself. And I think it was also like the first time like I ever let go. Like I think I was always afraid to let go. And that led up to the breath work because, when you're doing breath work with a group and you have to let go and you're in your own process, it could be uncomfortable. And I remember I went through my process and a lot of things were coming up for me. And I remember you coming and you would see, where the breath is stuck or whatever. And you would like whisper things into my ear. But what I remember most about that experience is, and all the other breathworks, I do not remember your music playlist. You put on I'm Coming Home.
Oh, wow. By Skylar Grey.
Yes. Yes. And I remember like curling up into a ball and I'm going to cry now, just remembering it. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. And like I knew like this is the beginning of my journey back to myself, really back to myself, because I don't want to use the word lost, but I went through a lot. I went through a lot, and now was the time to take back my power and to really understand myself and look inward and to blossom.
When you say lost, can I put this out there? When you came to that workshop, you did not even come as Meira. You came with a different name. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. Okay. Again, I will jump
Yeah,
a little bit, but
this is an unfiltered, unprepared conversation. I don't even have a list of questions that I want to ask, but you're talking about that workshop, and it's so crazy because that room is coming into focus for me as you're talking about. I even remember where you were in that room, and what's even crazier is you're you're talking about the breath work and how transformative it was for you. Do you know what I'll never forget about your workshop? Your actual process. And I'm not going to go into the details because it's your process, and you only you get to decide if that's something you want to share. But that process was burned into my brain. And for the people who are listening who don't know what we're talking about, on these workshops, we take on a very select number of participants, and every participant has a chance to go through their own process. The entire group, the entire workshop supports the participant in their particular whatever they're struggling with, whatever they need to work through. Yours was very close to the end of Shabbos. I think you were the second to last. I don't think you were the last. I think you were either the second to last or the last process, because I remember that as we ended your process, it was like Havdalah time. I think that you were the first process that we were able to play music at the end of. Am I right?
can I give you a little
Yeah, you
secret,
don't
Molly?
remember it.
I blocked it out. And honestly, I would love to remember. There's one specific piece that I remember that was a little bit frightening for me. So I am not going to repeat it, but it's actually something that I would love to bring back because I do know that it was meaningful.
Would it be okay with you if I shared a little bit of like just what the theme of the process was? So you had shared that you had come through a bunch of years where you weren't feeling like yourself and that you were very, very lost. And I remember you being very close at the beginning of this whole process. And I we just we just took a second and we organized the room. We had everybody leave the room, and then we brought everybody back in, and everyone just kind of plopped into the chairs that were available. And without knowing, because we hadn't told them what we had set up the room a certain way, but nobody knew what the setup was. And the only chair that we designated was the chair for you. And once you sat in your chair, we told you Meira, and you were not Meira then, you were Miriam, which you'll tell us about shortly. We said, this is this is your Beit Din. You know, this is your Yeshiva Shalmala. You're sitting in front of God, and you're sitting in front of the angel of life, and you're sitting in front of the angel of death. And you get to choose. And it's crazy that we're talking about this now because we're Erev Yom Kippur. And I mean, this is going to be released after Chagim, but I'll never forget that the room, how we felt so viscerally. You were sitting before God and you were talking to whoever played God. And I know, lahavdil, it's a hard thing for people to comprehend, but we take these roles and we just take it, everyone just kind of moves into it without any prep. And you had to decide between life and death, and the angel of life and the angel of death, and they were bargaining. And the crazy thing was, at a certain point, the angel of life told you to choose death. It was like such a chutzpah move. And the feeling that everybody in that room, it was probably 2 hours. We would probably work like this courtroom scene took between 90 minutes to 2 hours. And at the very end, when you chose life, and it wasn't a given. It wasn't a given. But that whole room, the way I mean, I've never had a Yom Kippur like that since. You know, when you stand in front of God in Yom Kippur, now I know what a courtroom feels like. Now I know what it means to fight for your life. And then you tell us about the breathwork the next day when you heard the song, "The Coming Home." So moving back to you, tell us about this whole name change situation, what it really meant for you to start finding your way home.
So, about 10 years ago, I was going through another of my
Oh, so
difficult
you had more
times.
than one difficult time?
Yeah, maybe a few more than one difficult
One or
time period.
two, or
Yeah,
teenagers, they go like, I don't know this because I don't have TikTok, but like 6, 7
or just one
extended,
extended.
extended. So like, oh, like a
Exactly.
series of
Yeah,
unfortunate events. Got it.
exactly. Yes. So I think I was fed up, and I was in Israel. It was actually it wasn't something so crazy that I was upset about, but it affected me a lot. I'll just say it. I was going through whatever I was going through, and I lost the password to my phone. And I
Yeah, you are an
journal.
incredible
I'm
poet and
constant.
photographer.
Yeah, thank you. And I lost the password to my phone, and I wasn't able to back it up, and a lot of things happened, and I lost all my writings. And that was like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, I can take anything. My writings, they're part of me. They are who I am. They are everything about me. And I know it can sound a little bit petty, but that was like my last straw. Like, I am not losing everything that, all the feelings, everything that I wrote, everything that I went through. When I write, there's a lot of emotion, in my writings. And I was like, no, this is not happening. And I actually wrote a letter to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I went to Israel on a whim. I was in Israel, and my husband was going to see Reb Chaim. And I wrote a letter. I said, I went through a lot. I really went through a lot, and I don't complain. Dear God, I do not complain. Okay? But like, no, no. You cannot take away my writings. Again, I know it sounds insane, but I need it's who I am. And I wrote this letter, and I kept writing on the bottom, Lama, Lama. And Chaim's grandson read him the letter because he does not read women's handwriting. And Rav Chaim looked up at my husband and he said, "Who is this?" And my husband said, "This is my wife." And he said, "Meira lo Shem Tov." And he said, "Tikri'i la Miriam." Call her Miriam. And someone asked him, "And hakol yiyeh beseder?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Ken." And I didn't even think, like, the second I heard, I do have Emunah Chachamim, and the second I heard that I have to change my name, that was it. Like, this is what Rav Chaim said. This is what I'm going to do. And right away, I knew I was going to change my name. This happened on a Thursday. We were in the Waldorf on Shabbat, and I started telling people, and it was like this whole, crazy thing. And then Motzei Shabbat, we were actually on a plane going to Eilat, and that's when it processed. And I was on the plane, and I just started hysterical crying, like, what am I doing? But like, this is what Rav Chaim said. And I also do want my life to change. And I came home and I told my parents. I had to ask my parents permission because I am named after my grandmother, my father's mother. And it was almost like I made it exciting, like Miriam, I added the Y, like, I made it, I have to be different. And for 10 years, 9.5 years, I was Miriam, and I made sure that people called me Miriam. And what's funny is now in retrospect, I realized I had never connected to my name, Meira, and I never connected to Miriam either. I just was not, I didn't connect to anything. I really wasn't connected. And then come this year of Vessel, and I'm almost like clearing out and coming back home and understanding myself and listening to my body and, learning and, spirituality. And all of a sudden, it was Pesach time, and the seeds started, growing. And a year before, not a year before, the summer before, I was working with someone, and she kept calling me Meira. She's like, "Your name is Meira." And every time she called me Meira, like I felt calm. Like, this is me. And I never resented the name Miriam. It wasn't something, it was like, this is who I am. This is what I needed to do. And, but I just never connected to it, and never really connected to Meira either. It was just, this is my name, this is who I am. But what was happening was, and this, even when I was going through my stuff, people always tell me when I walk into a room, even when I'm not happy, even when I'm miserable, even when I'm depressed, you light up a room. Like, you just walk in and there's something energetic about you. I was actually in Costco this summer, and the woman, like, checking our our cards, she says to me, "You're sunshine." And so now it's come Pesach. It's really, Vessel is over. Ignite is really over. I'm still doing Ignite, whatever it is. And I'm not feeling Miriam. I am not feeling Miriam.
And one
And I
second, that's
knew.
Pesach. That's the season of Miriam. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it wasn't talking to me. And I felt literally like I was coming home, and I made the decision. It took a few days. But when I say takes a few days, that's my outward processing. Usually I process inward with it, like, subconsciously, before, like, my brain actually comes up with the idea. So already, like, I knew I was coming back to Meira. And I put it on the chat. And, no one's going to tell me what to do, but there was very, very positive feedback. And then, you slide into my little WhatsApp DMs and you said, you know, I never knew you as Meira, but you were never a Miriam to me.
No, it's even better than that. Because even when you came to the workshop, to JTH back then, see, this is where my timelines were mixed up in my head, and I couldn't figure out how this was possible. And now now that you told me what year, I thought you were on the workshop in 2019. And so with that in mind, the story that I'm about to tell you wouldn't have made sense. You putting it into perspective for me that you were there 2020, I had your name in my phone before you joined Vessel and before you joined the workshop. Because in 2019, was it 2019 or 2018? Hold on. If my son was bar mitzvah in 2020, then my daughter was bat mitzvah in 2019. So in 2019, I wanted to hire a photographer for her bat mitzvah. And I was just asking around for photographers in the neighborhood, right? Local photographers. And a friend of mine sent me your contact. And she must have known you from way before. So your name was Meira. And so I had saved your contact. I had never called you. I ended up going with a different photographer. I got a bunch of names, right? I ended up going with a different photographer. And then you joined Vessel, and then you joined the workshop. And I already had your contact saved in my phone. And you joined as Miriam. And I just assumed that, there was a second name, or one was your professional name, one was your private name. We all have like different, some of us are known in different ways. And I never corrected it in my phone. And I mean, at one point you had explained, I think it was on the workshop itself, you had explained that you're really Meira, but you told me the reply story, and I never changed it in my phone. And here we are, a couple years later, and you're making this grand announcement on the chat that you're reclaiming the name that you had never really felt at home with from to begin with. And I was like, girl, that was always going to be your name. Like, I don't know if you know, but we've always seen you as a Meira. We've always seen you as that sunshine. And so this coming home, I know there's so much more to your story. And I don't know how much of it you want to share, because when we were kind of talking back and forth about where we can go with this conversation, I told you, like, this conversation, there's no way, this is just a drop in the bucket of the story that you have to tell. But you are one of the most, again, this is not my story, it's your story, and you get to decide. But having been privileged to witness you over the last few years, guys, when Meira says that she has stuff, she has stuff. Okay, you're going to have to take her word for this, and you're going to have to take mine. And when she says she lost her mind over not having the password to her phone, I mean, that is the most relatable thing anybody has said on a podcast ever. Because you know what? It's not the cancer diagnosis that threw me over the edge, right? It's the small things. It's the having to wait in line. It's the someone cutting you off at the light. That's where the straw that broke the camel's back. And then we feel so dumb. We feel like, really? I couldn't hold it together? It's like, no, we couldn't.
Oh, I did not feel dumb. I wanted my writings, and I got my writings back. So
We all needed to know how that story ended.
Yes, I got my writings. It took maybe 2 years, but I was
Yeah, but
relentless.
when you were
The
sharing
same
that,
way I'm relentless with my
yeah,
life.
well, when you were
Sorry.
sharing that, all I heard was they were pieces of your soul. There was a part of your soul in those writings. It wasn't that you lost the password to your phone. You lost the password to pieces of yourself that were so precious, and that the only safe place for you to store them for so many years were in words on a notepad on your phone. And I think a lot of us relate to that because, for at least the feedback that I get in Vessel, is that that's what Vessel is. It's a reclamation. It's us coming home to ourselves. It's us becoming okay with parts of ourselves that we may have locked away, hidden away, been ashamed of, not even known about. And when you wrote on that text that you sent out, my life didn't change, but I changed. That's exactly what those missing pieces on your phone, losing that password. That's, to me, as you're talking about losing your password, I get that. I'm a writer too. And I don't know if losing my writings would make me lose my cookies like that. But there are other things. There are definitely other things. I'm blanking right now, but I tend to lose my mind at the smallest things because they're never small. It's like a key, and the keyhole is the smallest part of the much larger doorway that we step through. So I know when I don't know how this is going to land for people listening to this episode because people are voyeurs. They just want to know. They just want to know the gory detail. They're like, okay, tell me. You have a podcast episode with the subject line trauma. It gets double the amount of clicks than any other episode because people love it. They love going to the gory details. And here you're like, no, just password on my phone. But I know people. You're going to have those people who just
I
want the
don't.
details, and then you're going to have the other people who are completely nodding along. They're reading between the lines. They know exactly what you're talking about. This homecoming piece, it's not something that we do in a moment, and it's not even something that we do in one cohort of Vessel. But you started describing what it feels like to wake up in the morning and to brush your teeth differently, or to get out of bed excited about what you're going to learn today. So we're heading now into our seventh cohort. You're one of the very few people who get to say that you're doing this for the seventh time. What what do you what can you say about that? What can you say about yourself in that process? The people that you've met along the way. I mean, where are you at with all this?
Okay, so I have two things to say. When I was going through the crux of what I was going through, I wrote a line or two lines that the line was, give me a second. It was something like, there is, give
Yeah,
me a
look
second.
it up. Now that you have the
Yep.
password to your phone.
Yeah.
And you know what? While you're looking it up, I'm just gonna make,
Mhm.
give you guys still listening, the little gift that I promised you earlier. You know, I had one of the things that birthed the idea to this podcast was that a while back I had a conversation with a really, really good friend, and I was so lit up by that conversation that I realized that the greatest gift is having conversations with people that you love. You learn the most in the exchange of ideas, and that's something that I'm sure you can say more about, Meira, with the Vessel chat and the Vessel community. And so the gift I want to give you guys who are still listening is a coupon code. I want to give you, let's pick a number. Let's go 17. I was going to say a different number, and then the number seven just jumped out of my mouth. I want to give you $17, not just off Vessel, because I know some of you listening already purchased Vessel. I want to give you $17 off. That's going to be valid for a year. It's going to be a coupon code valid for a year for any offering that you end up seeing me post in the next year, and you could share it with a friend. Why am I giving you $17 off? Because I want to give you the cost of two coffees. Really, the cost of two coffees is like $14 if you're buying it at Starbucks. So a little bit extra, because you should tip the barista. You should always do that. Go out for coffee with someone you love, have a conversation with someone fascinating, and come away a better person as a result. So that's my gift for you. The coupon code, I don't know, Meira, what should the coupon code say? What should it say?
Well, it has to have my name.
No, we're giving you a separate coupon code. Guys, if you know Meira and you know her in real life, you should be contacting her, emailing her, and calling her because she's going to have a private coupon code with her name on it that's going to give you a much larger discount to Vessel that I'm giving you. All right, how about we go with Coffee 17? Coffee 17, this coupon code is good for a year. So if we're releasing this in October of 2025, it'll be good for until October 2026. Mira, back to you. Did you find that line? Let's
I
go.
did. Okay. There is a difference between wanting an exciting life and being excited by life.
Wow. Say it again.
There's a difference between wanting an exciting life and being excited by life. I can travel, I can do cool things, I can have an exciting life, but imagine waking up every single day and just being excited about being alive. I don't need to, be in Rome or, on a cruise or anything like that. I can wake up every single day and look forward to what the day is going to bring me. And that was what I was missing. And I wrote that because I needed to be excited by life. I didn't want an exciting life. I wanted to be excited by life. And Vessel gave that to me. It gave me that excitement to wake up every single day and just want to do, want to be, want to grow, want to learn. And,
And brush your teeth differently. I still have to know what you mean by you brush your teeth differently. How on earth are you brushing your teeth differently?
well, my toothpaste is different. I do the oil pulling. Come on, we spoke
We
about
did.
the
We
oil
spent a
pulling for a
lot of
very
time on
long
oil
while.
pulling and mineral toothpaste.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go with you're brushing your teeth. You're brushing your teeth with the opposite hand.
I'm going to
Do
start
that
that.
next. That's the best mindfulness exercise ever. Yeah. So I did that when I was really young. I think I had read a Reader's Digest article. I've said this story before. I probably was like 7. And when I was a kid, I was ambidextrous. A lot of my family, we just have this natural ambidexterity. I think that's what and I read this line in the Reader's Digest that something about how we're going to lose brain capacity. Like it's the more we practice mindfulness, and it said something about brushing your teeth with the opposite hand because it forces you to stay present and focused. And for me, it was not about mindfulness because I had no idea what that was when I was 7. But it was like, I don't want to lose capacity in both of my hands because I saw what was happening, that as I was going more to schooling, I was using my right hand more because that's what they do in school. They force you to use your right hand more. And I was like, no. So that I started brushing. I was conscious that I brushed my teeth with my left hand starting from like age 7. I mean, I think I was always doing it. I was very fluid back and forth. And then, so today I'm primarily a lefty. I do everything with my left hand except for right. I write with my right hand. So I thought that that's what you were going to say. Like, for sure, you brush your teeth with your other hand. Well, now you're going to start. Now you're going to start. And then you're going to tell me how it goes.
Yes.
Probably not the best idea. Like if you're using charcoal toothpaste, probably not the best idea to do the other-handed brushing with charcoal toothpaste because your bathroom's going to be black like everywhere.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but I'm going to go back to what you said about waking up differently. I think it's in module 7 that I talk about Moda'ani, about my whole excitement every morning. And I can't promise that I do this every single day. There are plenty of days that it's really tiresome to get out of bed. But Moda'ani has a completely different significance for me these days. I wish it were every day. I'm not going to say that it is. I kind of loved what you said about you lost your mind when you lost your password, because it's really the little things in life that are the big things that catch up with us. I think when people come to a course like Vessel, if they don't know what they're in for, they're expecting something huge. They're expecting fix me, heal me. And what we're talking about more, that's not how this works. It's showing up year after year for 6 cohorts going into our 7th. It's doing it to the best of our ability. Like you said, some years it was just unarchiving the chat, right? Some years it was just showing up to the Q&As without even the lectures. It's whatever it is. It's a long, hard road. And at the end of it, nothing changes. But you do. And that's what makes all the difference. And this thing about the exciting life, most of the people that I meet, they do have an exciting life. I mean, all the drama, all the chaos going on in your life, that's exciting. And then, do you know how many people I meet that when the crisis is over, they don't know what to do? They don't know who they are.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've had something like that as well.
It's like I don't know how to be calm. Like, what does that mean, relax? Like, I'm like waiting for the next thing to happen. But that's also something that's great about Vessel. It teaches you how to stay present in your own body.
Yeah, one of the notes that
So,
you wrote in all the preparation I told you not to do for this call, you sent me a little bit of a journal that you had written, and you wrote something beautiful about presence and being even hatsnei alecha em Hashem, like being tsanua and turning inward. And that for you, that was so much a part of the journey, discovering the essence of Hashem inside. It's not about the drama. It's about finding the stillness and the meaning and the purpose. Can you say more?
start over.
You had, you know what? I'm going to pull it up on my phone. You had written something
Okay.
about God is within, inside of us. When was the last time anyone sat with and felt their hearts? The idea that Yud Kei Vav Kei, Hashem's name, is presence, right? Haya Hova V'yeh, the permission to be. Hashem's name is presence. And Hatznei Alechet in Hashem, go inside with presence. Learn how to behave within, be home within ourselves. Healing is coming back to the beginning. You're already enough. You always have been. And the last piece you wrote on the piece of paper that you sent me was, we are not the first ones to walk the world feeling fragmented. Fragmentation was the first article of creation. Did you write that today, or were you sending me notes from another time?
No, that was notes from Vessel.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought you were
From the
doing
time.
prep for this conversation.
Oh, no, 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 no. That was something that I had written, but I will say something about
Yeah.
that. What I found about myself was through Vessel. It was work, and a lot of it was really, really enjoyable. But I found that organically, I started changing without actually working on myself in certain ways. Like, I feel like I did become more refined. My voice quieted down. My language got a little bit less coarse. This is not something that I consciously worked on, but through working on myself and other things, everything just comes together, and you start becoming a whole respectable, refined type of person just by working on other things. And I love watching myself like, no, I didn't work on that, but I just became that because of the work that I have done. And I am proud of myself for, everything that I worked on this year and the previous years.
I am a little bit like shell shocked. I'm not really sure how to respond to that, because I'm coming from that whole Beis Yaakov upbringing where refinement was kind of shoved down our throats in not such a refined way, right? Like, literally, as I'm hearing myself say the words out loud, I remember getting fined, like a penalty, like a monetary fine for not wearing the right sweater, or I don't know, the right skirt length. And that was all in the name of teaching us how to be refined. And so for many years, I probably rebelled unconsciously against that adage, against that whole thing, kal kvuda vas melech pinima, right? Yeah, wow, help me translate. Kal kvuda, the beauty or the majesty of a princess is inside of herself. And I think growing up in that system, we were so done with it. But you're right. I get to watch myself on screen for many years. I can see video footage of me speaking on stage 10 years ago and 20 years ago, and Vessel as it evolved throughout the years. And you're right, there is a refinement, and it's not an intentional one. I wish I could say it's intentional. I wish that I could say, this is who we are as people. We intend to become, and it's like, actually, no. We intended many other things. And as a almost side effect of the things that we were looking for, we found this. Because when you say that we get quieter, yeah, when the fragmentation, when the voices inside of ourselves no longer have to scream to be heard because they're all given a seat at the table, then we do get quieter. We do get more refined. We're not shouting even internally, and so we're not making those external waves anymore. We are more dignified. We are speaking with more presence and walking the world with more power. And I'll never forget that when I was in school, not when I was in school, I mean, when I was in school, they taught us about modesty, right? They taught us that a Jewish woman can't be attractive. And that's the message that we internalized. And then when I started covering my hair differently, when I stopped wearing a wig, this was about 2015, 2016, and I started wearing a mitpacha, I got stopped by somebody at a simcha, at a gathering, at an event locally. And she said, I don't understand what you think you're doing by wearing this, because you think that it's more tsanua, more modest, but actually when people walk in the room, you're the first one they notice because you look different. And that's not correct. And I remember looking at them and saying, it's not that you're not allowed to be attractive. It's what are you attracting, right? What message are you sending? It's attractive doesn't necessarily mean provocative. And there's an attunement that happens when you do this work. There's an inner voice that is the still small voice that we can finally start listening to. So there's a part of me that's a little uncomfortable with yes, you're going to become more dignified as you do vessel. Your language might be cleaner. It might not. I don't know. Some people actually have the opposite. They start doing this work and they're actually saying things that they've never said before. They're using words that they've never been able to use before. And then the reputation that me and my work ends up getting is very mixed, right? Some people is like, she's pro psychedelics. Some people say she's against psychedelics. You become more refined, you become less refined. And it's like, actually, that's so little to do with me, and it has a lot more to do with you and your process and where you're heading and what needs to come up to be processed. And that's why the most important part of all of this is to remember that it's a process. You're not going to come out of one round of vessel and have it figured out. You're going to come out of 2 and 3 and then 5 and then 7 and then 10, and you're going to be doing this for a lifetime. So thank you for bringing that piece up, because I didn't expect us to go there.
I do want to bring something up about the tzniut. I don't know if you remember, it could have been on the Q&A, it could have been, just on the chat or something, but it really stuck with me. I had the same, upbringing, and we learned, if a man gets attracted to your pinky fingernail, then, you're going to hell, And it could be in the Q&A, someone asked you something about tzniut and attracting, other people. And you said that you had learned later on that someone said, that's why men have necks.
My teacher, Rachel Goldbaum, she trained me to become a kala teacher. And this is her line, men have necks.
But wait, but then you said, but do you want to be that person that is attracting his issue is his issue, whether he's attracted or, but do you want to be that person? And ever since then, I've really been living my life, and not only in tzniut, but in every other way. Do I want to be that person that reacts instead of responds, that dresses this way so that, every aspect of my life is, do I want to be that person?
While you're talking, I'm thinking of Alfred Nobel. Do you know who he is? So he is the creator of the Nobel Peace Prize. How did it begin? He had a brother who died, and he opened the newspaper one morning and read his brother's obituary, except that they got it wrong. They didn't write his brother's obituary, they wrote his. And he had a company that manufactured and sold dynamite. And in his obituary, they wrote about how he basically, they couldn't have fought major wars without him. And he realized, if I died today, I would be remembered for war and destruction, my contribution to war and destruction. And he said, I'm not dead. I'm still alive. What is the story that I want them to tell about me? And he took all of his resources and devoted himself to bringing more peace into the world. And the Nobel Peace Prize that we all know today, and it is so famous, it started because of this. It's exactly like you said. Who do I want to be? I have a choice here. How do I want to be remembered? What is the story that I want to tell about myself and that I want other people to tell about me? We do get to choose. And we also get to make mistakes and mess up, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that is at least one of my kids that's upset with me right now. I mean, that's just that. I mean, that's also another thing we talk about a lot in Vessel, the permission to be very human, especially when it comes to our relationships and our parenting. that we're not expected to get it right. The amount of people that I speak with that have all of this guilt around messing up, right? And I think for me, I know I teach the course, but it's been such a gift to witness so many of the conversations, realizing we're like the last thing that you wrote on that piece of paper, which apparently was not prep for today, it was notes that you wrote during vessels. We're not the first ones. You are not the first one to walk around fragmented. Fragmentation was the first aspect of creation when God shattered the vessels. So when we walk around fragmented, when we walk around messing up, when we walk around not really sure how to relate to our kids, we're pretty on track. I mean, it's biblical. Yeah. I want to do something a little different to kind of wrap up this episode. If there's anything else you want to share, I would love to hear it. But I want to tell you where I want to spend the next, let's say, 7 minutes. Every episode that we did so far ended with a little snippet of a Q&A. And because this is an impromptu episode, I don't have a Q&A planned. I don't have a snippet to add to this. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to, if there are any questions you want to throw at me, whether it's about vessel, like, everyone asks me questions about them, but I'm giving you the opportunity to ask me questions about me. I think when people have been listening to all of these podcasts, they know a lot about vessel, but they know very, very little about me. So how do you feel about throwing me some questions, unprepared, unscripted, me about me, so that people listening and wrapping up this episode get to know a little bit more about the person behind this series?
I might need more than 7 minutes to think.
I'm not giving you more, girl. I'm already giving you great liberties.
How deep can I go?
Well, if I don't want to answer it, we'll just edit it out and pretend it never happened. We're on a coffee day right now. It's just the two of us. Remember Coffee 17, that coupon code. It's just us now.
Okay. Most people, I would say not most people, anyone who gets into this work usually gets into this work from a pain point. And you have mentioned that before. I think my question would be not what your pain point was, but what made you veer towards this versus anything else because of your pain point?
When you say, before I answer the question, I just want clarity in one piece. When you say versus anything else, say more.
There is traditional therapy, there's medication, there's, the whole psychiatric field, why this field, the breathwork, the hypnosis, all your modalities are based on, inner child, IFS. You took basically every single modality out there and you combined it into one amazing, course, which, by the way, that's what I love about Vessel. I'm just going to go off a little bit, is that it is, like I said before, it is a gateway because it introduced me to so many things. Now I'm ready to take an IFS course for myself and then to be able to help other people. But I would not even understand what IFS is without Vessel. And there's so many things that I want to do that I would not have understood it without Vessel. But what made you go into this kind of work?
First off, you're going to be a great podcast host one day, just saying that. And hey, before you take an IFS course, I thought we had an agreement. I thought you were joining a Zamra soon.
I am. And can I interrupt you? Because I think this is like major.
You just aced your interview, by the way. I'm just saying. You aced your Zamra interview.
Back in December, I sent you a text that I had a timeline for a Zamra, 2028. I wrote that this year I am absorbing, the following year I am learning, and the following year I am retaining. And by the way, I didn't realize until much, much later that what I had written was actually Chokhmah, Bina, and Da'at in order.
There you go,
Okay?
Tanya
So
Lerner.
things are going in. And 6 weeks later, you're like, honey, next year you're in
Yeah,
Azama.
because the more you're going to learn,
I don't
Tanya,
need to
the
wait.
more you're going to understand that time
Yeah.
isn't real and it's definitely not linear. So Chachmat Bina and Das can happen simultaneously. But
And
yes,
also, my growth was on steroids this year. I like bypassed everything. So, yeah.
yeah. And this is
And
also
I'm so
something else
excited.
that I recently read a medrash on the Parsha that talked about Torah learning. And it was making the point that when you look at somebody who has much more learning than you, right? And you say, oh, it would take me 10 years to get to that point because it's X amount of chapters and I would have to read them all and study them all. You're making the mistake by thinking that your first year of learning is going to look like your second and look like your third. The first is the hardest, and the second is already building on what you know, and the third is going so much faster and so much deeper. So 2028, tomorrow, yeah. But going back to the question that you asked me, why this? Well, this didn't happen overnight, right? I remember that when I finished chemotherapy, most people know that I had cancer already as a kid. So my life was it was jump started very young because at a very young age I had to really choose life, really viscerally. I had to decide, did I want to live? Did I want to fight for this life, taking chemo and everything? And when I finished chemotherapy, there should have been relief. There should have been this moment of like, I'm done. And I didn't feel relief. I actually felt depressed. I didn't know who I was and I didn't know what to do with myself. When I was going through chemo, there was something about the intensity of it, the drama of it. I had the exciting life, right? But then when the exciting life and the drama of it was done, I found that I wasn't actually excited to live that life. And I went into a depression that's really common for people after illnesses like that or big events like that. I didn't know it was kind of maybe a stage of grief, right? But no one was speaking that language because they just look at you and they say, well, you're healed now. You're good. Go and live your life. But I didn't know how. And I actually wanted to go to college to become a forensic psychologist. I wanted to understand psychology. And I got burned out very quickly. It wasn't answering the question and it wasn't helping me. It wasn't bringing me my joy. It was bringing me a lot of information, but not joy. And very, I want to say serendipitously, like by Hashgacha Pratis, Hashem sent me some amazing people and amazing experiences that made me say, hey, wait, there's more. Right. I remember feeling like Belle in Beauty and the Beast. There must be more in this provincial life. I just want more. And the more I studied, the more I realized people don't know how to be happy. They're so concerned with getting out of pain. They're so busy with save me, take the drama away. But then when the exciting life is not exciting anymore, they don't know who they are and they don't know how to be happy. And happiness is not the absence of pain. Happiness is the cultivation of presence. I read a line, I actually put it in last week's email about I didn't quote where I said it. No, actually, I didn't say this line on the email. Sorry, I didn't. It was a line by C.S. Lewis, Clive Staples Lewis, very prolific Christian writer. And many people know his name because we read the Narnia books growing up, where he wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So he wrote that um, hell is a state of mind, but heaven is the ability to live in the present. Hell is all the stories that we hold on to, the grudges, the ego, and heaven is the ability to be right here, right now. That heaven hurts. It hurts at first because you have to get through your pain point. You have to get through the ego. You have to get through the shame. But once you learn that there's nothing stopping you from just being here, that you are the greatest obstacle standing in your own way, that's heaven. And that's really what pushed me to do this work. How can we learn to be present and find the joy here and in the everyday moments? So that's what led me here. But honestly, this is only a message. This is only an answer that I can give in hindsight. I don't, if you would have asked me 5 years ago or 10 years ago, would I ever have envisioned myself here? No way. Even 2 years ago, I would not believe that I would spend my morning learning a shear, right? I didn't dream this was going to be my life. And I'm sure that if me in 5 years re-listens to this episode, I'll be having a good laugh as well. All right, 7 minutes. Another question?
No.
I think that pretty much answers it all.
You're putting me on the spot.
No, you did pretty good with your first question. Should we try for one more to wrap this thing up?
Okay. You brought something up for me
Hold up.
that
You're
I
moving away
have.
from the mic, so it's hard to hear you. We'll wait till you come back to the mic. Yeah, it's all right.
In JTH, I actually found my JTH
No way.
notebook from over 5 years ago. And something that someone had brought up was you are your future self's inner
I
child.
said that, and someone turned
Yes.
it into a
And
meme. Was it you?
oh,
Yeah.
yeah?
A friend of mine, I think it was Matana Jacobs. She turned it into a meme.
The first time I ever heard it was at JTH. So what would give me a second because you just brought up 5 years from now. Um, what would your future self tell you, the inner child, right
It
now?
is crazy that you're asking me this question. It happens to be that the last exercise that we do in the heart work, in the journaling for module 8, which is the last exercise we do in Vessel, is a letter from the future, from your future self to you right now.
I didn't get there.
Oh, you didn't get there. You didn't get there. This year,
I didn't do all of the
yeah,
hard
this year you have what
works.
to look forward to. So
Yes.
a couple of days ago, not, I mean, we're talking about a week, I was really struggling with something. And I mean, because we all struggle, right? I think if people expect us to have a perfect life, it's one of the things that I wrote in the email that went out today, that there's a PS that I added. People watch these episodes and everybody looks so amazing on screen. Everybody looks like they have it together. And they have this, if I was just like them, if I just had their marriage, right? Everything would be perfect. Everything would be great. And it's like, no, you're seeing a tiny snippet. You're seeing just a small window into who we want you to think we are. You don't know who we are on a daily basis. And just because I teach Vessel and just because I know a lot doesn't mean I'm always great at living it every single day. I'm better, right? I'm much better than I used to be, but we're human. And if you meet me in the grocery store, I may not look or sound as polished as this. But a couple of days ago, I was really struggling, and that's what I did. I sat down and I wrote a letter from my future self to me now, and I honestly, my brain is a little bit foggy trying to think about what I wrote because I was very determined that I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to treat it like a journal exercise and not going to think. And I wrote it on my phone and I put it, there's an echo. I put it into my Google Drive. I just saved it. And I then took out my calendar and I flipped forward 2 years. I flipped forward to Erev Rosh Hashanah in 2 years from now. And I set a reminder in my phone, go into your Google Drive and search for this title. And I promptly forgot about it because that's what I do, right? I do these exercises for the sake of doing them. I'm not a big journaler for that reason because I'll never reread them. And now you're just reminding me. And it's funny that you're reminding me because I don't know what I wrote because I already put it out of my mind for the next 2 years. But if I have to think about this right now, if I think about what a future version of me would be saying, I think she'd just be laughing. I think she'd be, when your kid falls and hurts themselves and they're so cute because they're crying these like big fat tears over something so small, and they're so adorable, and you want to hold them, like you want to cry with them, but also you're laughing because you have so much love for them and you just want to hold them in your arms. And also, let's face it, when a kid comes running into mommy's arms, mommy gets a snuggle out of that. There's something very delicious
Oh,
in
it's
that.
delicious.
And that's the feeling. Like, if I had to think of who I'm going to be in 5 years, I don't think I can even imagine myself. Because if I have to think of myself 5 years ago, there's such a huge evolution that took place in such a short period of time. And it's not just for me, it's in everybody in my world, everybody that I know. I cannot begin to predict where I'm going to be in 5 years, and I don't even think I want to. Like you said, about the adventurous life, I love the adventure of being myself. I love the adventure of discovering where I'm going to be and who I'm going to become. But if I could imagine what my future self would tell me right now, is everything you're doing everything you're going through is so important. Everything that you're dealing with is a stepping stone, because one of my favorite lines from Robin Hobb, an author that I like, is tomorrow must amount to more than just the sum of your yesterdays. But tomorrow is the sum of your yesterdays. You can't have tomorrow without the sum of your yesterdays. But we have different kinds of tomorrows. And for some people, their tomorrow is just the sum of your yesterdays. For me, it's not. It's tomorrow must amount to more than just the sum of your yesterdays. And I have so much confidence that the person that I'm going to be in 5 years is going to be so much more as a result of the yesterdays that I'm putting in, the sleepless nights, the parenting, the nights we have pizza because I'm just not getting it together to make supper. And I want to believe that one day looking back, I'm going to be very grateful to myself. Sometimes I don't like myself. Sometimes I struggle. Sometimes I say like I could do better and I should do better. But I think when I look back at this time, I'll be giving myself thanks for pushing through. And by the way, if you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I don't think I would have given this answer. This is a lot of work on learning to accept myself as I am and showing up with a certain level of love. Not the mushy kind of love, but a very practical kind of love. Like, you're okay. You got this. You're human and you're perfect just the way you are. So thank you, Meira. That was a great question.
That was a stunning
We are
answer.
so good at this. We are amazing at this. All right. So to wrap up this very impromptu conversation that, again, I have no idea how it's going to land for people, but I have a lot of confidence that it's going to land well. Thank you, Meira. If people want to reach out to you, I mean, we didn't even talk about what it is that you do. They got a little bit of a hint. You're a photographer. You also make the most amazing masa. Is that how we say it?
Maza.
Okay, maza. You'll have to tell the uninitiated what maza platters are. Do you want to tell the people who don't know the Syrian delicacy that you offer?
Basically, it's Syrian hors d'oeuvres. It's Syrian
Syrian
pickups.
appetizers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
But
how
they're good.
when I thought of Meira for this episode Friday morning, and then she like shows up an hour before Shabbos and she's like, I'm dropping food off at your door. I'm like, it's a sign. And they were good food. They were
Yep.
very good food. So Meira, if they want to reach out to you for whatever it is that you do, and Meira is one of those people she's a multi-potentialite. She has so many skills, gifts, and talents. By the time you listen to this episode, she might be doing something else because that's who she is. But if they want to reach out to you, oh wait, and they want to reach out to you because you have your own private coupon code for signing up the vessel, how can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Just my phone
Your
number.
phone number.
What's that?
Brave girl, you're giving your phone number out on the podcast.
I can always
That
block
is
people.
true. What is your phone number, Meira?
917-907-2251.
Awesome. And for everybody else still listening, thank you so much for joining me, Meira, and all of the other guests on this Vessel miniseries. Really, really hope that you choose to join us for the larger party, Vessel Cohort 7, registration open now. You can find out more at my website, falliklein.com/vessel.